This is your Daily 5 for Tuesday, October 28th, 2025. I've gone back and forth on whether I should just title this 5, What Am I Missing, with a question mark on the end. But I'm going to leave it as something more related to the actual topic because it is about a subject. But really what underlines all this is, am I missing something? Meaning I'm asking all of you what I'm missing or what I am miscalculating or something, because there are a few times where I look at something and I really just cannot work out top to bottom why something I've expected to happen for a while hasn't happened. And in this case, it's in regards to streaming services. Now, HBO Max is raising their prices again. That news came out last week. Not really news much at all. Every streaming service raises their prices. Apparently, HBO Max has done it more often than others. Like I said, they've done it every year for the past 3 years, according to Ars Technica. So that in itself is not the thing that is really surprising to me. In fact, it's not surprising even in the least. But the thing that reminded me of is that I'm pretty sure a while ago, I had predicted that if these prices kept going up and everything else was getting more expensive, which in the US it certainly is, that at some point there was going to be a sudden drop-off of subscribers, that people simply would not be able to afford it. And that was before, I'm pretty sure, there was an announcement that, or there was the finding came out, if you assume this is true, that most people actually watch more YouTube than anything else, meaning streaming services or, network television. That YouTube is the dominant form of video consumption by most people I think it's in the world, but certainly in the US. If that's true, if in fact most people are watching YouTube, if these prices keep going up, if everything in the US is getting more expensive, how are people not dropping off these services in massive numbers, especially in light of the fact that most of them have now cracked down on password sharing? There again, if they weren't cracking down on password sharing, I would think, well, that's what's happening, is people are sharing their passwords and they're kind of, they're divvying up the cost. But many of these services are now stopping that. From what I understand, they are actually doing it. So if you put all of that together, along with the fact that most of these services, because I keep kind of tabs on what shows are new and which ones people seem to like, that type of thing, it doesn't seem like they're all cranking out a great new show every month or anything like that. They usually have 2 or 3 big ones, and that's it. Now, in many cases, the episode counts on these are fairly low, 10 to 12 maybe, sometimes less. I mean, Alien Earth was 8. And so if the amount of episodes has gone down, if the price keeps going up, if password sharing is being eliminated, and in fact, if most people are watching YouTube, then how is it that we haven't seen a massive cliff where everything drops off and subscriber numbers really plummet, outside of anomalies like the Jimmy Kimmel thing? But that's one-off stuff. That was an event, and apparently the numbers have somewhat stabilized after that. People basically came back after Kimmel got brought back on the air. But that's a one-off. Like, you can't predict that. That's not something that's a reliable. That was just something that happened to catch fire at a moment. So how is it that people are still subscribing to this many services and paying increased prices? Unless somehow there is a cover-up of subscriber drops that nobody knows about. And I really don't believe that would be the case for every service, that nobody internally who knows those numbers is just not saying anything about it. So you would have to imagine that there seems to be a fair amount of stability. But how can that be? Because you only have to subscribe to 2 or 3 of these things on a monthly basis, especially if you don't do it in an annual way, and the bill starts getting really high really quickly. And again, just thinking about what publicly seems to make sense, or what's been reported, if it's true, most people watching YouTube, prices go up consistently, no more password sharing, or at least highly reduced, and no service that is cranking out an unmissable stream of hits every single month. How is it that the numbers have stayed this stable? And so the only thing I can come to the conclusion is that I'm missing something. Either there's something in my brain that has broken that can't perceive why this makes sense, or there is some part of the calculus that I'm missing. Because when I say all that out loud, and when I've thought of each of those factors, it doesn't make any sense. And I just think about within our household, we've canceled any number of services because we just weren't using them enough. And again, I don't think that's something uncommon when everything in the US seems to be getting more expensive. And if people aren't really watching these services as their main source of entertainment anyway. So if somebody hearing this can give me an explanation, I am genuinely asking, because I cannot figure this out. The factors involved in the equation are not coming out to a result that makes any sense. If you can explain it, by all means, please tell me, because I'm lost. Later.